Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your match preview for Manchester United's away leg in the Europa League against Real Sociedad. A huge game. It's Europa League or bust now for Manchester United. And United go into the game with a depleted squad, it has to be said. We've got plenty to talk about. We're going to talk about Ruben Amorim's comments in his pre-match press conference today. He's talking about why he's not using more youth. We're going to talk a little bit about Chido Obi as well, his exclusion from the Europa League squad, of course. We're going to talk a little bit about the importance to Ruben Amorim and to Manchester United around winning the Europa League as well. Potentially winning, hopefully winning, probably not winning the Europa League. We'll, of course, give our predicted 11 as well, guys, and then we will give our score predictions. But as always, get your comments in below. I want to know your thoughts on this. Obviously, it's been a very tumultuous week for Manchester United. United squad is decimated, so I want to know what you guys are thinking. But please do smash a like on the video, guys. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. I do appreciate it, but we're on the road to 14,000 subscribers. And yeah, let's jump right into it. And we're going to talk about the squad going to Spain. Well, the squad that's already in Spain, I suppose. And it was announced today, the travelling squad. Manchester United's travelling squad to face Real Sociedad. Andre Onana, Dermot Mee, and Eli Harrison. I'm always curious as to why three goalkeepers go, to be quite honest with you. And, you know, when you see two goalkeepers being named on the bench, three in the matchday squad, it doesn't make any sense to me. But I think the majority of the reasons around it for United have been down to the fact that we just don't have depth in our squad, which is a shame. Defenders: Harry Amas gets called up to the matchday squad. Diogo Dalot, Matthijs de Ligt, Patrick Dorgu, Aidan Heaven, Victor Lindelof, Nusra Mazraoui, and Lenny Yoro. So I think we can all pretty much guess what way the back three are going to go, but we'll get into that in due course. Midfield then: Casemiro, Toby Collier is back in, Christian Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes. Paper thin, absolutely paper thin. We've got Ugarte missing from the squad completely due to an injury in training yesterday, which is, obviously a major concern. And then the forward line then: Garnacho, Højlund, and Xerxes. They are literally the only attackers available for Manchester United, the only ones available. So it's quite concerning, it has to be said. And I think it's quite clear, and I think it's quite easy to pick a starting 11, to be honest with you. And we will do that later in the video, of course. But Ruben Amorim, I suppose, would like to have one specific guy in the squad, or maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. But a lot of talk this week has been around Chido Obi, and of course, a really good performance that he put in against. Who was it that we played last game? I can't even remember. Fulham in the cup. Really good performance by Chido Obi, and it was just missing a goal, and only for a world-class save by Leno. I think, he would have got his first senior goal as a Manchester United player. But reports came out quickly after that game that he was not going to be able to play for the remainder of the Europa League for Manchester United because he hasn't been registered. And every Man United fan just went, "Oh, Jesus Christ," because that's how we were feeling after, a poor performance midweek or on the weekend against Fulham. Basically, what it means is the list for the Europa League, and I know an awful lot of this from playing Football Manager. The knockout stages of the Europa League or Champions League. I was never in the Europa League in Football Manager. It was always the Champions League. But the second half of the season, the knockout stages, you get to redo your list and bring players in and bring players out. And when this was first announced, I said, nah, that can't be true. Anybody under the age of 18 doesn't have to be registered. Again, Football Manager. Happy days. But it turns out he cannot play for Manchester United for the remainder of the season in the Europa League. Now, that might only be for a couple of games. But basically what it means is he's on the B list. So the B list is obviously, underage players, so on and so forth. However, you've got to be an academy graduate for a certain amount of time to be able to be exempt from that under 18 rule. Okay. So he would have had to have been registered as a senior player, technically a senior player. So the likes of Aidan Heaven, he was registered because obviously he came in around the same time as Cheetah Obi, and he's not in the underage setup long enough to register as a B-list player where he can automatically be registered if he's not under the age of 18. So he was registered as normal, as any normal player would be. And I think the issue around this is that the list was submitted before we had injuries to Ahmad, I think was probably the main one. And I think that's probably the main reason why he wasn't registered. I don't think it was naivety on Manchester United. Now, in hindsight, it is naivety, the fact that he wasn't registered for it. But I don't think it was done out of, out of unprofessionalism or whatever the case may be. I think they genuinely said, we don't need to register him for the Europa League because he won't be playing. And it turns out, not that we could do with him now, but we could do with the option of having him. And yeah, I think it's just a bit of a kick in the teeth after seeing him play so well against Fulham on the weekend. 3 big chances for Cheetah Obi in however long he played, and the same 3 big chances it took Rasmus Højlund 22 games this season to have. So Cheetah Obi gets 3 big chances in, let's say, 45 minutes less, and Rasmus Højlund got 3 big chances in the last 22 games. So that's why you would like to see Cheetah Obi available for the Europa League, but he is not. Now, Ruben Amorim was asked today on why he has not included more youngsters in the squad, and he says, I'm trying to manage everything. It's a big step for them. I'm trying to think about every aspect. I'm not thinking about what it will look like with their friends and the media. So again, look, Ruben Amorim is going to be very protective of what he's doing, and he's very much looking at the long game, in my opinion. And we'll get onto a couple of more quotes that he mentions. But again, I'm always around the standpoint when it comes to youth is that you can play them too quickly, too soon. And while I do believe that this is a competition that United need to stay in, albeit we might not, I think we need to. I do think that, I suppose, the young lads that he brought, I mean, he did bring a good chunk of them. Like, if we look through it, obviously, the 2 goalkeepers are young. Harry Amass is in the squad. Aidan Heaven is in the squad. Lenny Yaro is obviously a young kid as well, even though he's a senior player. We've got Toby Collier that's back in there as well. I think the only one really missing, and the only, probably 2, you would say, at the moment, obviously Cheetah Obi, that's, for reasons why we just mentioned. The other one maybe is Sekou Kone, who hasn't got an appearance yet. Now, he was on the bench for the Spurs game, and I do think he would be one that could give us a little bit of backup on the bench when it comes to that midfield. When we're talking about Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno Fernandes as the midfielders with no Ugarte, and then you've got Toby Collier, another kid, as a backup, I think Sekou Kone could come into that and be in that little group that could potentially offer us a little bit of I suppose, breathing room, to be quite honest with you. Who have we got in the chat anyway? Daniel is in. He says, Ugarte and Maguire not available for tomorrow's game. Yeah, absolutely. And it is a big shame. Oshin is in as well. It's a case of injury in the warm-up. Riley says, evening. Well, Amorim is in deep trouble. The results have not been very good. They haven't. And Brian Casey is there as well. Good to see you, Brian, as always. So, yeah, look, they haven't been great. But, Ruben Amorim is talking about trying to manage expectations, trying to manage the youth. Now, when I talk about the underage here, they very rarely let you down, in fairness, and it's always the case where bringing a young player in, whether it be 17, 18, younger, whatever the case may be, Cheetah Obi has just gone 17. They tend to give you 4 or 5 good games before the dust settles, and people go, oh, all right, maybe he's not quite ready. It's like the adrenaline wearing off after a few games, and I think Ruben Amorim has the opportunity over the remainder of this season to actually implement some of Manchester United's long-standing traditions of playing the youth in important parts of the club's history. When we look at, obviously, at 58, when the Babes were taken away, it was the academy that got us through that over the next decade, and Matt Busby lent on that massively. When United got relegated in 74, there was an awful lot of the youth that got us back up to the first division, the season after we got relegated. Obviously, we have what happened with Sir Alex Ferguson, the class of 92, all of the youth coming through. And I think Ruben Amorim has got the opportunity now when, confidence is on the floor and morale is on the floor. Play the youth. Play them. Just play them. Because they will give you 4 or 5 good games each when they're thrown in. They will not let you down. And I think that's a great opportunity between now and the end of the season, to fledge a few of them and give them the opportunity to get, their feet on the pitch for the Manchester United first team and to get some good minutes and to get some maybe moments under their belt. And I think Ruben Amorim needs that. And if we continue to go on and lose games, at least we can say, well, look at the youth players that are coming through. And it would be a little bit of positivity in my eyes. And I think it's something that Ruben Amorim could potentially look at over the next few weeks, and I hope he does. He was also asked about his system, guys, and whether he would be changing his system again. And he stood strong on it. In fairness to him, he said, I think the system is not the problem. It's the way of playing. We have a lot of problems and we're trying to work on the problems. Every system needs different characteristics. I'm still really confident. I will not change that. And again, this goes back to what we've said after an awful lot of games. There are moments in each game, even though a lot of them are really poor and the results are not going well and, very few positives to be taken from it. We mentioned an awful lot on our match reactions and, even match previews that we do, that there are moments within games that you can see what Ruben Amorim is trying to do, get through to the players. They do it in moments. And it's about having the players that are able and capable of doing it consistently, not just over 90 minutes, but over a full season. And we are nowhere near that at the moment. So I think Ruben Amorim is absolutely dead right to not change, what he is trying to implement, because we've seen Erik ten Hag do it, haven't we? Erik ten Hag came in on the back of what he'd done at Ajax, and we thought, oh, we're getting that manager. And quite quickly he said, I can't play the Ajax way here. And he changed. And it was to his detriment in the long run, because he was forever fighting a battle after that to, change the mentality of that squad and change the characteristics of it. And it never happened. And I think Ruben Amorim is the first coach we've really seen to stick to his guns. Louis van Gaal, to a certain extent, didn't change. It was very boring. It was very, very laboured football. I even think Jose Mourinho changed an awful lot. Ollie brought us back to a counter-attacking football, and it wasn't as possession-based as he would have liked to have had it, and he made that change very early on in his reign as well. But I think Ruben Amorim is the first manager we've seen to really stick to his guns, and he's dead right. And a lot of people are saying he plays a 3-5 or 3-4-3 or whatever the case may be, and that's it. He doesn't have any alternative, formation or whatever the case. But that formation can be so much adjusted that there can be so many variables within that formation that I think that's why Ruben Amorim is such a big fan of it. So look, I think he's absolutely dead right. He shouldn't be changing, and we should be getting the players to fit his style of play rather than a manager to fit the style of play that, this mismatch of players have. And I think going forward, that's what's vitally important for Manchester United. Now we're going to talk about winning the Europa League for a moment. Now, again, I don't think by any means that we are going to be favourites, because we're not. I think if we get our act together and we start playing well and we stay injury free, and somehow there's a change of ability, performance, hunger, desire on the pitch between now and the end of the season, then we could win the Europa League. We could. And Ruben Amorim says in his press conference today that if we win the Europa League, we'll be in an amazing position next season. And that's right, we will be. And not only next season, but we will be in an amazing position going into next season. We always say about the Champions League, and it's true of any club, that if you're in the Champions League, you will attract better players. It's as simple as that. You will attract better players. And if we win the Europa League, we're into the Champions League. Now, it's a big ask. It's a massive ask, a huge ask. Do I think we'll win it? No, I don't, to be quite honest with you. But I think Man United and Man United fans and Ruben Amorim and even the players are desperate for a bit of positivity. And if you can get a bit of positivity, you know, go to the semi-finals, maybe even the final, whatever the case may be, it will generate a little bit of positivity. And by God, do we need it after this season? It's so desperately bad that that we would take anything at this stage. But he goes on to say, a vital competition for the budget and to be able to attract players with winning the Champions League, he was asked. And he said, it's not crucial for the future of the club. That's my point of view, but it's important and it can change a lot of things. Manchester United can attract the best players even without Champions League. There are more important things than winning cups at the moment. But I understand that winning the Europa League can change a lot of things for next season. And he did also mention as well that he's looking at changing long-term Manchester United. And what he's trying to do, he thinks will be far more beneficial than just winning a cup. And he is so on top of this, it's not even funny. And this is exactly what Manchester United fans have been saying. And we had the different phases. You know, when we went 5 years without winning a trophy between Jose and Ten Hag, it was, we need a trophy. We need to win something here. Whereas now, I think that kind of mentality has shifted. And I think it's more so we need to stabilize the club. We need to recruit well. And we need to just get performances right on the pitch. And I think if we can do that, then in turn, trophies will come. Now, they might not come instantaneously. They might be 1, 2, 3 years down the line. But I do think they will come. And I think that's what Ruben Amorim is hinting at here. And I think he's dead right, to be quite honest with you. I genuinely do think he's dead right. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those, really, isn't it? Right, guys, we're going to get into our predicted 11. And obviously, we had a disappointing result against Fulham last week. But yeah, again, I mean, this was the team that started against Fulham last week. And wasn't it? Or did I update that? I don't know if I updated that. Did I? No, that was the wrong. That's not the team that started. But yeah, we can go through it here anyway because I've got it. I've got it here. So yeah, it was Yarrow. Dorgu was out, wasn't he? Dorgu was out. Masraoui was wing back and Yarrow was in. And it was Ericsson for Garnacho. So that was the starting 11, guys, for our last game. Now, I mean, what do we think about this starting 11 going into this game? Obviously, we know first and foremost that Ugarte is out with an injury and that Maguire is out with injury. And obviously, concern, you know, where does the changes take place here? And I think if we're talking about obviously the back three first and foremost, I think it's a pretty straight change. I think De Ligt will go central, and I think we'll probably see Mazraoui on the left and Yarrow on the right, and that'll be our back three. Now, when we're talking about the players that have travelled, you don't really have an awful lot of options other than that. The only other options would be either Aiden Heaven or Victor Lindelof. I would rather play Aiden Heaven, not because I think he's, head and shoulders above Victor Lindelof, but Victor Lindelof is leaving in the summer. I think it would be more beneficial to play him, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think our back three will be Mazraoui, De Ligt, and Yarrow. Now, Delot, right wing back, will stay there. Dorgu comes back in, guys, because he is not suspended for the Europa League. He's got bans for Europe or for domestically, so he's going to miss the next two Premier League games. He is available for both games in Europe, which is good because basically what it means is he is still going to have a game a week. He's going to have, the game today. He's going to miss the game on the weekend. He'll have the game next week, and then he'll miss the game that weekend then as well. So he'll have a game a week, which is good. And I think he will be 100% starting tomorrow as left wing back. Now, Bruno Fernandes, I think, will stay as the number 6. I think that's quite clear. Beside him, I think it's going to be Casemiro to come back in, to be quite honest with you. Look, we know Casemiro's limitations. His legs are going. He's, but the passion and the desire is still there for him. It has to be said, and credit to him. But I do think that will be they will be our 2 number 6s, to be quite honest with you. And in the forward line, Xerxes and Hyland are going to play. Xerxes and Hyland will play 100%. They will play, and I think the only other option is either Eriksen or Garnacho. I would like to go with Garnacho, to be quite honest with you. I think he gives us that more attacking threat going forward. He does, of course, like to drop out into these positions and, run at fullbacks and centre-backs that way. But I think that would be the best way of shaping up. Now, it all depends. You might want to go for some more control in midfield. And in that case, you're talking about Eriksen. But where do the goal threats come from? Rasmus Højlund is not one at the moment. Xerxes doesn't score goals. What else are you going to do to get a goal in this game tomorrow night? I don't think you're going to get it from Eriksen. Eriksen is there to dictate play and pass and move. I think it's got to be Garnacho. And I know Garnacho hasn't scored in 21 games or either, whatever the case may be. But he's getting into the positions to actually go and score goals. So for that reason, that would be my starting 11. But let me know your starting 11 in the comment section, guys. Would you change anything? Would you do you disagree with anything? Well, look, when we're talking about score predictions, I think it's going to be a tight game. Now, look, I mean, Real Sociedad are no real great shapes either. I mean, they're a weaker team this year than they were last year when they finished, I think, 5th or whatever the case may be. When it comes to La Liga, they currently sit in 9th position. And they got a bit of a hammering on the weekend as well against, I think, was it Barcelona, I think? But they're certainly there for the taking. And Manchester United, given even the squad that we've got out there, the starting 11 that we have up on the screen, I think it's good enough to beat them. I genuinely do think it's good enough to beat them. However, we've got to perform, and that's our problem. We've got to take our chances when they come, because if we don't, you can't get through without scoring goals. It's as simple as that. Winning penalties at the moment, or winning penalty shootouts is something that we've got a bit of a checkered history in as well at the moment. So score predictions, guys, away from home, 1-1. 1-1 draw, I'm going with. And a 1-1 draw I will take, to be quite honest with you. I'll be going to the home leg next week over in Old Trafford as well, so I'm looking forward to that. I would take a 1-1 draw, bringing it back to Old Trafford for the second leg. Let me know your score predictions in the comment section below, guys. We will be live for the game tomorrow night as well, so make sure you are tuning in for that. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy.